Gaurav, news reports coming in that perhaps in its drive for cash cleanup, the government may actually bring a voluntary disclosure scheme under demonetisation, and that plan is going to have a 2 tax slab, etc. So let's bring on board Gaurav Sinha to really, get us more clarity on what exactly is going around. Gaurav, we were the first to report that a 60% tax and penalty is going to come about for disclosures. Tell us, what is this new buzz about that there's going to be a 2 tax slab penalty that the government may actually slap for voluntary disclosures?
Well, what we're picking up at this point is essentially, the amendments to the Income Tax Act, which were taken up by Cabinet last evening, and essentially essentially a voluntary disclosure scheme is now in the works, which has been, of course, cleared by the Cabinet. It's expected, we're learning from sources, to be taken up and introduced in the lower house of Parliament, possibly on Tuesday next week. Now, as far as the details are concerned, this could be a voluntary disclosure scheme where people who must have put in a lot of deposits into their bank accounts have the opportunity to come in and declare all of that previously undeclared income. And essentially what would happen is that a flat 50% tax would be levied on that, and on top of that there would have to be a guarantee that those funds will not be withdrawn and used for the next 4 years. That's what we are learning could be one option. Now, if people do not come forward and disclose that amount, a flat tax of 60% could be levied on any previously undisclosed or unreported income, and that's also, of course, what we had reported on ET Now last night. Essentially, a penalty of 60%. If you could look at the total taxes incident on the unreported income, it would be 30% of tax, 30% of penalty. A total incidence of 60% would be levied, where, of course, previously undisclosed income is not reported, even though, of course, this income, of course, will now have to enter the banking system. So 2 options which the government has given: either come and pay flat tax of 60% on the previously undisclosed income, or come forward, disclose that income, pay 50% tax, and commit to not using the remainder for the next 4 years. Of course, this is source-based information. The government hasn't come out with an official statement on this, but remember, so far there wasn't a lot of clarity on what would happen if previously undisclosed income was reported. There was speculation that the government could potentially, under the existing income tax regulations, levy 200% penalty on 30% of the tax. But of course, the government going ahead and giving a legal backing by amendments through the Income Tax Act. And essentially, what this will essentially do is give the government that legal backing to go ahead and prosecute those people, charge 60% tax on those new deposits. Of course, this has to come into Parliament, and we learn that it may happen on Tuesday next week.